Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. Here are the stories that we're following today, June 29th, 2013. From the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago, Ramadar Singh says it's tragic as a 6-year-old dies in a fire. Also in TNT, Rowley to no faith on Wednesday. 2 Caribbean countries on world's deadliest for drivers list. And Cuba to graduate over 10,500 doctors this year. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
It's week 2 of our used car blowout month, and this week it's guaranteed credit approval. If we can't show you how to get approved, that car is on us. Log on now, GrecoAuto.com.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gobin. This segment of the news is sponsored by Total Caribbean Network. In Trinidad and Tobago, residents of Duncan Street and neighboring communities have been left in grief and shock following yesterday's fire which left a 6-year-old girl dead. The early morning fire took place at the top floor of a Duncan Street apartment building. Reports state 6-year-old Ronas Osborne was asleep in the apartment while her aunt went to a nearby shop to buy bread for breakfast. A neighbor who saw smoke emanating from the apartment attempted to break in to rescue the child, but the door was locked. Fire services were alerted. The officers tried to put out the blaze but were unable to save the girl. Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. Glenn Ramadar Singh, and his team visited the community yesterday morning after the incident occurred. Ramadar Singh said, "It was a very heart-wrenching moment when we arrived there. The community is in shock and grief. The country and nation is in grief over the loss of a 6-year-old. We are praying for the life of the guardian of the child, who is said to be the aunt who is in her 50s. The minister added, and I quote, "We pray to the Almighty that some miracle can still come out of this very tragic and sad situation. We will discuss at the policy level next Wednesday, where the opposition leader, Dr. Keith Rowley, will be found guilty of contempt with respect to the Emailgate allegation, as the Privileges Committee is expected to present its report to the Parliament." Rowley said yesterday he was prepared to face the music. Rowley was hauled before the Privileges Committee following the defeat of his motion of no confidence and the government, where he raised the Emailgate issue. Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar had moved a motion of privilege, saying Rowley abused the privilege of Parliament by misleading the House, that he was reckless and brought the House into ridicule and disrepute. Persad-Bissessar had said Rowley willfully and deliberately misled the Parliament by presenting documents which he knew were a mere fabrication with respect to the Emailgate fiasco. At a press conference yesterday, Rowley said he was not apprised of this, but disclosed that he did extend to the committee a series of correspondence, and he insisted on his rights before the committee. Asked if he was prepared for the report next Wednesday, Rowley said, "I am always prepared. As a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, I maintain my right to fair treatment under the provision of the Constitution, and whether I am before the Privileges Committee or the courts, I will demand that those rights are afforded me and that parliamentary behavior is not beyond the provisions of the Constitution and my right to natural justice," he said. 2 Caribbean countries have accelerated onto the World Health Organization's list of the most deadly in the world for drivers. One of them, the Dominican Republic, has earned the dubious distinction of placing at the top of the heap as the most dangerous country in the world to get behind the wheel of a vehicle. The other, Venezuela, isn't far behind in the deadliest in the world rankings, which also include Thailand, Iran, Nigeria, South Africa, Iraq, Guinea-Bissau, Oman, and Chad. The Dominican Republic has a fatality rate for drivers at a whopping 41.7 per 100,000, which translates into 1 in every 2,398 dying every year in an automotive accident. Dominicans as a whole have a 1 in 480 chance of having their lives taken by some form of misadventure involving an automobile. Further south, with a fatality rate of 37.2 per 100,000, Venezuela has become so notorious for its poor driving conditions that the U.S. State Department has issued a driving warning on its website for visitors to the country. The Americas, including the United States and Canada, fared better overall than most of the rest of the world in terms of automotive fatalities. The region averaged 16.1 deaths per 100,000 compared to the 24.1 per 100,000 in Africa and 21.3 in the Eastern Mediterranean. Europe emerged as the safest region of all in the WHO report, with only 10.3 deaths per 100,000. Across the world, about 1.24 million people die every year in traffic-related accidents. Cuba will graduate more than 10,500 medical doctors at medical schools in different provinces of the country this year. The head of the Teaching Process and Registration Department of the Cuban Health Ministry, Dr. Emilio Caballero, said the new professionals include 5,683 Cubans and 4,843 nationals of 70 countries. The graduation ceremonies will take place July 19 to the 27th. According to Caballero, the countries with the largest number of graduates are Bolivia with 855, Ecuador 718, Mexico with 444, Argentina with 387, El Salvador with 386, Guyana with 280, East Timor with 194, Angola with 118, and China with 101 doctors. The total number of graduates from all medical science specialties this year will reach 29,712 professionals, with 24,692 being Cuban and 5,020 from other nations. Medical sciences include the specialties of medicine, stomatology, nursing, psychology, and health technologies. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
5 million customers use Leica Mobile for affordable international mobile calls, connecting over 2.5 million mobile calls daily, helping our customers stay in touch with their loved ones, whether they be in Asia, Africa, Europe, or the rest of the world. Every 5 seconds, a new Leica Mobile customer joins our growing family, helping you to make affordable international calls across the world. Leica Mobile. Call the world for less.
Stop the music! It's week 2 of our used car blowout month, and this week it's guaranteed credit approval. If we can't show you how to get approved, that car is on us. Log on now. GrecoAuto.com.
Since we announced Sign and Drive with 0 out of pocket and low monthly payments, cars been flying out of Bronx Honda at a record pace. Whoa! New Accord with 0 out of pocket for $249 a month, or new Civics just $199 per month, or save thousands with 0% financing. You never had to leave the Bronx to get the best price on the Honda. Bronx Honda guarantees the lowest price in the Bronx. Bronx Honda, East Tremont Avenue. Visit BronxHonda.com.
I can't believe your mom let you take your car out. This is awesome.
It's time to grow up.
You're crazy.
Little while
Go faster. Stop.
it'll all be alright.
I raised my son to be careful,
Hey, sweetie. Hey, Mom.
but just to be safe,
So don't you worry.
I got a Subaru.
Love. It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Coleman Subaru, 1710 North Alden Avenue, Ewing, New Jersey, or ColemanSubaru.com.
Welcome back to Cannes. This segment is sponsored by TravelSpan Vacations. The U.S. Department of State has released its 2013 Trafficking in Persons report, in which St. Vincent and the Grenadines is classified as a Tier 2 country. According to the classifications defined in the report, countries under Tier 2 are those which do not fully comply with the minimum standards prescribed by the U.S. Trafficking Victims Protection Act, but are making significant efforts into bringing themselves into compliance. Only 30 countries, mainly Western countries, were designated as Tier 1 countries in the 2013 report. The other classifications in the report are Tier 2 watch list and Tier 3, the least favorable classifications. The TIP report reflects the progress made by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in the fight against trafficking in persons over the years. Indeed, the government regards the report as a more accurate reflection of the situation in St. Vincent and the Grenadines compared to past reports, which classified the country as Tier 2 watch list. In releasing the 2013 report, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry reaffirmed that the United States will continue its leadership in fighting trafficking in persons. Ending modern slavery must remain a foreign policy priority, stated Kerry. The references to modern-day slavery when speaking of the growing crime of trafficking in persons is something which has long caught the attention of Caribbean diplomats in Washington. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves has been playing a leadership role within the Caribbean community for a campaign calling on Western countries that built their nations on slavery and the slave trade to issue reparations as a means of redress and atonement for this crime. In an effort French government for making the training available to local firefighters. This, he said, complements the ministry's efforts to further improve the GFS. Minister Rohi praised the leaders of the fire service for recognizing the need and importance of such training. And I quote, "If the leaders of the Guyana Fire Service were not convinced and on board with respect to the need of this type of training, it would not have happened," he said. Thus far, 115 firefighters have been exposed to this particular type of training since its establishment in 2010. And I quote, "That also speaks of the achievement that we have. As we move to develop, we are grateful for these training sessions," Fire Chief Marlon Gentle said. Gentle also expressed gratitude to the French firefighters for the knowledge they have imparted to their local counterparts. In the U.S. Virgin Islands, Attorney General Vincent Fraser testified on Thursday before the legislature's Finance Committee in support of a budget that will allow the Justice Department to fulfill the many obligations of its various divisions to enforce the rule of law in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The governor's justice budget of $19,622,028 represents a small uptick in funding from the previous fiscal year, when a shortage of funding stymied some litigation efforts. The proposed appropriation constitutes over $12 million from the general fund and over $6 million from federal grants. And I quote, "We believe we can meet our mission with this budget, although it will be challenging," Fraser said. "We certainly wish we were allotted more by the Office of Management and Budget, which we could use, but under the current fiscal crisis, it would be imprudent to ask for more when all agencies of the government are having to operate with limited budgets." Fraser added he hopes to spend more federal grant funds in the coming year. "There is no doubt we will be quite challenged in providing the services to the community and to the government agencies," he says. Fraser expressed hope that criminal and civil litigations activities that tax the department's resources would be less frequent in 2014. The leader of the Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party, Gaston Brown, along with other ABLP members, appeared in the High Court with their lawyers for the hearing of an urgent application for an injunction against the Boundaries Commission, the Speaker of the House, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, and the Attorney General. Despite all parties being served to appear, the Prime Minister and the Speaker were notably absent. The Attorney General intervened at the commencement to advise that the Boundaries Commission had already submitted the Boundaries Report to the Speaker of the House early in the week. The Attorney General then indicated to the court that he would not oppose the application and agreed to give his undertaking to the court that the Boundaries Report would not be submitted to Parliament until the matter filed by the ABLP had been determined before the courts. The Attorney General had to give his undertaking in writing before the court by close of business on Thursday. This undertaking by the Attorney General has the same effect as an injunction. The Boundaries Commission cannot proceed with changes to the electoral boundaries until this matter is heard in the High Court. The leadership of the ABLP views this action by the Attorney General as an acknowledgement that the case for changing the boundaries is weak. Claire Henry, Justice of the High Court, gave directions for the matter to be prepared for trial and has agreed to set a date for trial when the parties next appear before the court on August 1st of this year. You are watching Caribbean Affiliate News. Stay tuned.
Since we're now sign and drive with zero out of pocket and low monthly payments, cars been flying out of Bronx Honda at a record pace. Whoa! New Accord with zero out of pocket for $249 a month, or new Civics just $199 per month, or save thousands with 0% financing. You never had to leave the Bronx to get the best price on the Honda. Bronx Honda guarantees the lowest price in the Bronx. Bronx Honda, East Tremont Avenue. Visit BronxHonda.com.